Virgo, I need to pause before I even begin because what I am seeing in your energy right now is not something I come across often, and I want to deliver this carefully because carelessly delivered, this message could sound like flattery or like the kind of thing people say when they want to make someone feel good. In the reassuring and warm form, that does not always reflect what is actually happening in the energy of the person being reassured. This is not that. What I am seeing in your energy right now is real and specific and pointing in one unmistakable direction. The soft life, Virgo, is not a metaphor in what I am reading for you today. It is the specific and literal destination that the current trajectory of your energy is pointing toward with a clarity and a momentum that I want you to understand fully. Before we are done with this message, welcome and breathe, because this is one of the ones. Let me tell you what I mean by the soft life first, because soft life means different things to different people, and I want you to know what version of it is specifically available to you in the energy I am reading, rather than the general and aspirational version that the phrase can sometimes carry when it is used without the specificity that makes it useful and real rather than only beautiful. The soft life in your specific energy is not the absence of activity or the absence of purpose or the particular form of rest. That is actually boredom in disguise, waiting for something meaningful to arrive and filling the time with things that feel like rest, but that are actually the anxiety of someone who has not yet found what they are meant to be doing with the freedom they have been given. The soft life in your specific energy is the freedom to choose in the most complete and specific form of someone who does what they do because they have chosen to do it rather than because they have to do it to cover what needs to be covered. In the financial dimension of a life, that has been operating from the position of, I do not have the luxury of choosing. I have the necessity of continuing. The distinction between choosing and having to is the distinction between the life you have been living and the life that is coming for you. Virgo, in the specific and arriving form of the soft life that this message is delivering to the specific Virgo who needed to hear it today at this specific moment of their specific journey. Now, I want to paint a picture for you of what I am seeing in the energy around your life right now, in the specific and sensory form of what the arriving soft life actually looks like from the inside of it for the specific Virgo who inhabits it when it has fully arrived. I want you to close your eyes for a moment, if you can, and let the image form before I describe it, because the forming before the describing tends to produce a more vivid and personal version of what the describing is going to offer. than the describing alone would produce without the prior forming of whatever spontaneously arrives. When you close your eyes and allow the image of your soft life to present itself in the form it takes when you are not managing it into the version that seems realistic or proportionate to what you currently have, or safe enough to allow yourself to fully imagine without the managed reduction, that brings it down to something smaller than what it would naturally be. If you allowed the full version to form, now let me describe what I see in your energy, in the arriving soft life. And you tell yourself, in the quiet interior of the forming image, how close it is to what formed when your eyes were closed. I see a morning, a specific kind of morning. That is different from the mornings you have been living. In the preceding season, in the specific way of a morning that begins without the alarm, without the immediate calculation of what needs to happen today and how long it will take and whether there is enough of everything to cover what needs to be covered. By the end of it, a morning that begins slowly in the specific and luxurious form of someone who has the time to begin slowly, because beginning slowly is a choice they have. Rather than a luxury, they are borrowing from somewhere else at the cost of something else that needs to be done, and that the slow morning is delaying. Light coming through a window, in whatever form light comes through the window, of the specific place that the soft life has placed you, which may be different from where you currently are, or maybe the same place, but experienced differently, because the person in the light is a different version of you than the one who has been moving through the light in the preceding season, when the soft life was still arriving rather than present in the full and inhabitable form. It has now taken something warm in your hands, coffee or tea or whatever the specific warm thing is, that belongs to your particular version of the morning I am describing, without the urgency of someone who is drinking it quickly, because the morning is already running and the warmth needs to be consumed before the running catches up to where you are and takes you with it into the motion of a day. That does not have the particular quality of a day you chose. In the full and unhurried form of the soft morning I am describing, that morning, Virgo, is not a fantasy version of a morning that exists only in the aspirational imagination of someone who has not yet found the specific combination of circumstances that would make it available in the real and daily form of something that happens rather than something that is imagined as the thing that happens for other people in other circumstances that are not currently yours. That morning is what the energy is pointing toward for you specifically, in the arriving form of something that is closer than the preceding season with its particular quality of difficulty and necessity has made it feel. Now I want to tell you what is producing the soft life in your specific energy, because the soft life does not arrive without something producing it, and the something that is producing yours is specific and worth understanding so that you can recognize it when it arrives in the form it is taking for you specifically. The first thing producing it is a recognition, the specific and external form of someone or something with the authority to recognize. Looking at what you have been doing in the Virgo way of doing things, which is carefully and completely and at the standard that you hold yourself to, regardless of what is being returned for the holding of the standard, in the direct and proportionate form that the standard deserves. The recognition is coming in the form of something that says, what you have been doing has been seen and valued in the specific and material form of a return that is proportionate to what was invested, which is significant in the Virgo case, because what Virgo invests is never small, and the return that the recognition is producing will not be small either. In the specific and arriving form that the energy is showing me right now for your specific situation. The second thing producing the soft life is a door in the specific and real form of an opportunity that has not previously been available to you in quite this configuration, or from quite this direction, or with quite this quality of fit with who you specifically are and what you specifically bring and what the opportunity specifically requires of the person who walks through it. The door is made for you in the sense that the fit between what is on the other side of it and who you are is not the approximate fit of someone who could probably make it work with enough effort and enough adjustment and enough willingness to reshape themselves into something slightly different from what they naturally are to fit what the door requires. It is the exact fit of someone who does not need to reshape or adjust or become something other than what they are. To walk through this particular door because this particular door was made for the particular person who is going to walk through it, which is you, in the specific and arriving form of the soft life that waits on the other side. The third thing producing the soft life is the most surprising and the one that I want to spend the most time on before I give you the 3 instructions that I want you to take from this message into the days that follow it. The third thing producing the soft life is you, in the specific and accumulative form of everything you have been doing in the ordinary days of the preceding season that did not feel like the building of something as it was happening, but that was the building of something in the quiet and unannounced form of the Virgo who builds quietly and consistently without the announcement that what is being built is significant, because significant things in the Virgo approach do not need the announcement. They need the continued building, which is what you have been doing in the ordinary days of the extraordinary accumulation that is now producing the soft life as its natural and proportionate result. You built this, Virgo, in the quiet and ordinary and unapplauded form of the Virgo who continues, because continuing is what they do, and the soft life is the result of the continuing, arriving now in the proportionate and deserved form of what the accumulation was always going to produce. When enough of it had accumulated to tip the trajectory from the difficult ordinary season into the arriving soft life, that this message is describing. I want to speak about what the accumulation looked like from the outside and what it looked like from inside. Because the difference between those two views is significant and worth naming for the Virgo who experienced it from inside and may not have understood that what they were inside of was an accumulation rather than only the ordinary movement of ordinary days that were simply continuing without the particular quality of building that accumulations have when they are visible as such from outside. The accumulation looked like a Virgo who was consistently and without drama adding to something day by day in the specific and observable form of someone who was building a foundation brick by brick in the patient and methodical way that Virgo builds things when they are committed to what they are building rather than what they are being required to build by circumstances outside their choosing. From inside, the accumulation looked like continuing, just continuing without the visible evidence that the continuing was producing anything that would eventually tip the trajectory into the soft life that the message is now telling you the continuing was producing all along, without the internal confirmation that would have made the continuing feel more like building and less like simply not stopping at the ordinary cost of the ordinary continuation. That did not always feel like enough to produce what it was actually producing in the background of the experience of continuing through it. The continuing was the building, even when it did not feel like building, and the building is what has produced the soft life that is now arriving in the proportionate and deserved form of a Virgo who built something real. In the ordinary days of an extraordinary accumulation That has now reached the tipping point into the soft morning and the open door and the recognition that are each the specific and arriving form of the soft life that this message has been promising since the first word in the title, because I want to honor it with the specific and honest interpretation. That makes it useful rather than the literal interpretation. That might produce the wrong kind of expectation in someone who receives it without the nuance it deserves. May never work again does not mean that you will stop being active or stop contributing or stop producing the things that your particular gifts and capacities are designed to produce in the world you are moving through. It means that the specific relationship between your activity and your survival is about to change in the fundamental and permanent form of the distinction I described earlier between choosing and having to. You will still do things in the soft life, but you will do them because you chose them, not because the financial dimension of your life has left you no other available option than to continue doing what produces, what needs to be covered, whether or not you would choose it. If the choosing were fully available to you, rather than constrained by the necessity of the covering, may never work again. Means may never feel forced again in the Virgo specific form of someone who has been choosing from a constrained set of options and who is about to choose from the full and unconstrained set that the soft life makes available when the financial dimension of a life is no longer the limiting factor in the choices being made. Now, the three things I want you to do with this message in the days that follow it. The first, release the guilt that the Virgo carries about wanting the soft life in the specific and Virgo form of the guilt that says, wanting ease is wanting too much, or wanting ease is the privilege of someone other than me, or wanting ease is the abandonment of the standard that produced everything worth having. In the life that the standard was building through the unapplauded and ordinary continuing, that the soft life is now rewarding. The standard produced the soft life, the wanting of ease did not produce it, the standard did, and the soft life is the standard's reward, rather than the standard's abandonment, which is the specific reframe that the Virgo guilt about wanting ease most needs to release itself into the genuine form of permission that the soft life requires of the person receiving it. For it to land fully, the second when the door opens, say yes. In the specific and complete form of yes without the Virgo qualification that immediately identifies what could go wrong or what has not yet been confirmed or what the full picture might reveal. When all the information is available and the decision can be made with the full and complete information, that currently available decisions do not always have available to them in the complete and comfortable form that the Virgo prefers to make decisions from, rather than from the incomplete form, that most real decisions require the making of before all the information is in. The door will not wait for all the information. The door will open, and it will require a yes or a no from the information that is currently available, rather than the information that will eventually be available. When the decision has already been made by someone else, or by the closing of the door that waited as long as it could wait for the yes that the Virgo was still qualifying, say yes. Virgo in the full and unqualified form of someone who trusts that the door opened for them because it was made for them, and that the yes is the appropriate response to a door that was made for you in the specific and fitting form that the energy is showing me for you specifically. And the third, let yourself see the soft morning I described in the full and vivid and specific form of your particular version of it, rather than the managed and reduced version that the preceding season has trained into you as the version that seems realistic enough to allow without the risk of the disappointment that too vivid an imagining of something that has not yet arrived can produce when the imagined version and the arrived version do not match in the exact form the imagining was imagining. Let the soft morning be fully imagined in the specific and sensory form of the light through the window and the warmth in your hands, and the morning that begins slowly, because beginning slowly is a choice you have, not a luxury you are borrowing from someone else's available time. That morning is yours, Virgo, in the arriving and real and proportionate form of what the accumulation has been building in the ordinary and unapplauded days of the preceding season that produced the specific Virgo, who is now reading this at exactly the moment that this message was always going to arrive for exactly this person on exactly this day. Welcome to the soft life. Virgo, you built it in the quiet and ordinary and extraordinary form of the Virgo who builds things without announcing that they are building them, and then arrives at what they built in the specific and deserved form of someone who did the work, and is now receiving what the work produced. The soft morning is waiting. The door is opening. The recognition is arriving. And you, Virgo, are about to never work the same way again.